it's not the best of times in the automotive industry, but when it comes to Auto Expo, OEMs, big or small, two-wheeler, four-wheeler OEMs, all of them put their best foot forward in terms of showcasing their products, in their technologies, their design capabilities and whatnot. Well, with me, I have Mr. Shashank Srivastava, Executive Director, Sales and Marketing of Maruti Suzuki, and we will talk with him about how the market scenario is currently, and when it comes to Maruti, what kind of market interventions is it planning, and to kind of not only protect its turf, but also maybe venture into new spaces. Shashank-san, thank you for talking to Autocar Professional.
Thank you.
The market condition currently,
yes.
How is it?
If you look at the H1, as you were just pointing out, situation was not so good. H1 industry decline was about 16-17%. Maruti also declined by similar amount in H1. However, Q3 was good for Maruti. We showed a small positive. Industry was a little negative. In January, the same thing happened. Maruti showed a little bit positive, and industry was negative, small bit. So I would say between H1 to Q3, there was a lot of improvement. From Q3 to January also, that trend seems to be continuing. So I think going forward, we are very optimistic. But of course, there is room for caution as well, because we have the BS6 transition completing in another couple of months' time. So we really have to wait and see how the consumer react to the increased prices, which most manufacturers have affected with the introduction of BS6.
In terms of segment performance,
yes,
you have also earlier mentioned while the overall share is a very enviable,
yes,
almost
yes,
50%.
Yes.
There are certain segments where you're still, have to kind of be very strong.
Yes.
So, what kind of interventions are planning, and which are those segments that could you throw some light on?
Yeah. So, if you look at segment-wise, we have the A segment, which is the hatches and the sedans put together, which is roughly about you can say about 60% of the market. 35% of the market is now SUV, MPV segment, and about 5-6% is the van segment. So you are very right. For the segment A, our market share is 60%, and this year it has grown by almost 3%. In vans, we have a market share of almost 87-88%, which is another growth of 6-7%. But really the SUV segment, which is the segment which has actually grown in this year, despite the huge negatives which we saw in segment A and segment B. There our market share is roughly around 27-28%, and I think there is a lot of room for us to improve. And when we are launching the Vitara Brezza in petrol tomorrow, remember it was only diesel, and diesel has been declining even in the SUV segment. So I think this will give a great fillip for us in terms of market share and volumes in this growing segment. And later on, we will be launching the S-Cross also with the petrol version. Remember, S-Cross is also only diesel, available in diesel. So I think we are reinforcing this segment. This is the segment which is growing, the SUV segment. We have the XL6. We also have the new Vitara Brezza and the new S-Cross, which will be coming in this segment shortly.
So are you confident of ending this financial year at around that 50% or thereabouts?
The market share, actually, we are market share is still excess of 50% already. So 50, I think the market share April to January so far is about 50.5%. So yes, we hope to continue to maintain this market share.
And we have the S-Presso, your youngest product in your portfolio.
Yes.
Tell us, you offered that both in AMT as well as manual.
Correct.
What has been the kind of market trend like when it comes to the S-Presso and in this segment?
The S-Presso has been doing very well. In fact, in the first month, it came in the top 8 models in the industry. So it's been doing well. We think the volumes should stabilize around the 10,000 number, 10,000 numbers, and I think we are going very much at that rate. The daily rate seems to be about 350-400 cars bookings every day. So I think it's really made a position for itself in the industry, and I think one of the reasons for its great success has been, as you can see, the design is more SUV-ish, and that seems to be the preferred design choice of consumers of today.
And what percentage of your sales is the AMP version?
For this model or for overall? So it varies from model to model, as you know. In some models it is as high as 30%, but there are some models where it is less. For S-Presso, if I remember correctly, it is around 15%.
Right. And in terms, what's the outlook for the diesel segment of the passenger vehicle market? Because that's what everyone is looking at once post April 1.
Yes.
Once BS6 kicks in.
Yes.
What's your outlook? And what's the share now? And where could it go in the next financial year?
Yeah. So there are two things we have to look at it: how the diesel share in the industry will be, and what Maruti, as you know, stopped producing diesel cars. Since a couple of days back, we just stopped all diesel production. The share of diesel in the industry was close to 60% just about 6-7 years back. At that time, the difference between the gasoline price per litre of gasoline and per litre of diesel was about 31-32 rupees. But today the gap is in Delhi, for example, about 6.5 rupees, and in some states it's actually diesel is more expensive than petrol. So I think this is the reason why over this period of last 6-7 years, from what used to be 60% diesel has now come down to 30%. And in fact, last month in the industry, the diesel percentage was just 25%, and for Maruti it was about 17%. So I think the diesel percentage has been coming down. And if you look at it individual segment wise, then for sedans and hatches, it's very low. It's in SUV, which seems to be the acceptance of diesel seems to be higher. But we are very enthused even there, because in the entry level SUV and the mid SUV, judging by the reaction to the gasoline SUVs, which like an Hector or Kia Seltos or Venue from Hyundai, and also EcoSport, we believe the acceptance of petrol has increased even in this segment. And going forward, like we are launching tomorrow the Vitara Brezza in petrol segment, and later on the S-Cross in petrol as well. So we do believe that we will get a good increase in numbers of petrol even in this segment. Going forward, I think the acceptance of diesel will continue to come down. That's what we believe, because now it does not make economic sense for anybody unless he's using cars for 4,000-5,000 kilometers a month, which is not the case actually. Most consumers use it for about 1,000 kilometers a month. So it does not make economic sense given the current prices difference between the fuel for anybody to opt for diesel.
Lastly, the great question of when do you see a market turnaround?
Yeah, so I keep saying I don't have a crystal ball to predict the future, but
going by the way things are,
the momentum, as I said, from H1 negative became a little positive for Q3 and also in January. We do hope that we are very optimistic it will continue in this trend. But then there is also a reason for caution because all manufacturers have increased prices in response to the BS6 transition, and the transition will be complete in a couple of months. I think we'll be in a much better position to talk about the industry going forward once we see the transition happening. But on the face of it, actually, the factors which led to the downturn in the first place, which is the high cost of vehicles, the tightening of financial norms, and this confusion about BS4 to BS6 still continues. So those factors still exist. However, sentiments are a little better, as I said. Q3 was better. January also was much better than H1. So I think I keep saying we will have to be cautiously optimistic for the future.
I mean, we recently had the union budget,
yes,
but there was no direct implication
yes,
of any of the announcements.
Yes.
There could be some indirect benefits to the industry. What are those, and when do you see them kind of kicking in, having a kind of impact in the
Yes,
industry?
so I think a big impact you can see in the rural segment. So I think the government announced doubling of the target to double the rural incomes, and there has been a big outlay in budgetary terms for the rural sector. I think it was 3 lakh crores out of the 30 lakh crore which the government has a total outlay, out of which 3 lakh crore is. So that increased income in the rural sector would definitely help, especially Maruti Suzuki, because 40% of our 40% of our sale is actually in rural sector. So long term, that has a very good. The other big help, direct, I would say, sort of indirectly helping the auto industry, has been the planned investments in infrastructure for transport. It's about 1.7 lakh crore, which has been set out in the budget. So I think that also going forward will have a very positive effect. And in general, if the GDP goes up in the long term, it has got a very high correlation with vehicle sale. So I do hope that with the increased GDP in the future, we will definitely see good results in the auto industry in the future.
On that note, Shashank, thank you very much for spending the time and talking to Autocar Professional.
Thank you very much.
There you are, Shashank Srivastava, Executive Director Marketing and Sales of Maruti Suzuki, telling us about what the market conditions are and the kind of product and market interventions that the company plans to do to kind of enhance its performance in the market and also tackle the opportunities that arise from the possible impact of the union budget announcements that have been recently announced, but that's still some time to go before those benefits kick in. But for the time being, he's upbeat about the new products that the company is set to launch in the market. So on that note, thank you very much for watching this interview.
Thank you.